And now I'd like to ask our Secretary General, Roberto Montella, for his remarks. Please, Roberto, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, Peter, for the excellent report. As you said, time is money. I will try to be brief as well. But I think what is very important to underline, as I come immediately after your report, is that we must always work in the maximum transparency. And I very much appreciate that you are just above my head here in this building, so you can see how we are managing our resources and finance. And thank you very much also for the work that the audit is doing. Since last Standing Committee meeting on the 7th of July, we've continued to work in a COVID mode, dear friends. The PA meaning of COVID mode means that we are active, present, reactive, forward-looking, and to the extent possible, we try to meet and show up in person. Telecommuting is our way of functioning in this period. Our Vienna office is closed, unfortunately, because of the COVID situation there, and we're following, of course, the instructions from the host country, while our office in Copenhagen is open. But all the staff, of course, is working all the time from their accommodations or from wherever they are deployed in the field. Since July, we've had three activities. We can also consider Montenegro within this group. Three activities in person, mainly the election observation missions, Montenegro, Georgia, and the US. We've also had an important meeting in Helsingor, a brainstorming exercise with foreign guests. First of all, I would like to thank the leadership of our election observation missions. This time were 4 women: Ilona from Albania, Kari Eriksson from Norway, Margareta Sederfat from Finland, and from Sweden, and Pia Kauma from Finland, and of course, Michael Link from Germany. They were the leaders of our last 3 election observation missions. These were 3 important elections, but I will focus mainly on the 2 that we just had in the last 2 weeks. In Georgia, it was a very important election observation mission. We had Elona and Pia, 2 female leaders of these observation missions. We worked very well with you, dear. There's been, of course, also a difficult follow-up situation to this election. President Saratelli mentioned some of it, and I'm sure in the debate some of these things will be discussed. Elona and Pia Kauma have also made a statement following up on these elections, trying to call for calm. As we are in full transparency here, and of course George will add a few words on this. This is an election that also is important for us because it's the election in the country of our president, and we very much appreciate what the president did, as he always has done while he was president when there was elections in his country, which is namely to recuse himself from the appointment of the leadership. He asked Vice President Lord Bournes to appoint the leadership of this mission, thus not having any conflict of interest with the exercise we conducted. The president was also a candidate. Maybe the president will give us some highlights on what will happen. I understand from the speaker of the Georgian parliament that on the 4th of December, there will be the first session of the Georgian parliament. Then, of course, President Saratelli, who will most probably be in that parliament if his party is going to participate in that legislature. If he's not, as you know, on the 4th of December, then we will have a change in our leadership. But I will let the president maybe illustrate on that. But I just don't want to leave the elephant in the room. And as you know, I am very much always very transparent with you. So I just wanted to give you that piece of information. The other very important election observation mission we had was the USA last week. I described it in a Washington Post article 2 weeks before the elections as the most important election observation mission we've ever observed. And I very much stand behind those words. I think it was a very important election observation. Very difficult to conduct an elections in those conditions with the COVID, with travel restriction. Here, first of all, I would like to thank the US authorities for allowing us to observe and for giving us all the necessary infrastructure to make our travel to the US smooth. We had a former intern placed in the State Department who really made our life very easy in terms of travel. So I'm very much appreciative of what the State Department has done for us. And of course, I would like to thank the leadership of this mission, Michael and Kari. You have done, as I've written to you in a personal letter today, an excellent job. I think this is very difficult to observe an election in those conditions. I will, of course, because of my role, not dwell into the political aspects of this election, but I want to say that it was very difficult to make that type of judgment that you and your dear colleagues have made. It was a very courageous statement. A statement makes me very proud of being part of this OSCE family. And finally, a statement that will now clear the ground of the sometimes alleged accusation that we have that the OSCE can exercise double standards, or sometimes we hear these, unsubstantiated, I would say, accusations, but sometimes we do hear this from some countries of the OSCE, that the OSCE practices double standards. I don't want to hear any of these words anymore in the future after the work that we've conducted in the United States. So thank you very much, Kari, and thank you very much, Michael, but I'm sure you will dwell upon this election much more in details after that. But just a word in terms of numbers, because these three electoral activities plus the Helsingborg meeting that we had in Denmark has involved 63 parliamentarians plus around 38 staff. I would say 101 individuals. 101 individuals who have taken, we've made a little quick calculation because of course we have all this data, who have taken 340 flights. 101 individuals, 340 flights, 44 cities, in between the places where they have been deployed. All these numbers, to date, I have asked the delegations who have participated in these missions if there was anyone who had been contacting the COVID virus. So far, I've received one indication, but it's an individual that has contacted it back in his country and not while in this operation. So this is to say that I would like to thank very much the members for exercising maximum care, very much practicing all the safeguards that we have put in place. I would like to thank the Secretariat staff and the colleagues who have made sure that all the measures and the safety measures were in place. Of course, for us, it's important to carry out our activities, but it's also most important, the health of our members and our staff. So thank you very much for those who were involved. 0 COVID cases out of 340 flights and 101 members. It's quite an achievement. So thank you very much, everyone, for being in this operation. Activities online since the last standing committee meeting. We had a bureau meeting on the 23rd of October. We had a meeting with the secretaries of delegations on the 15th of October. They're all connected here. It's very important for us to interact with the secretaries of delegations, especially in this moment when we're not having meetings in person, because they are the backbone of this organization and we get a lot of advice from them. We had meetings of the Migration Committee and the CCT, the Countering Terrorism Committee, also online, and 2 webinars, one on Arctic and climate issues and one on journalism and corruption. I will not go too much in details. You've seen the news from Copenhagen. Maybe those who were involved might say a few words about those. The President already recalled the vacuum of leadership in the OSCE since the 17th of July. The 4 main institutions of the OSCE, the Secretary General, the Office of Democratic Institutions and Human Rights in Warsaw, the Freedom of the Media representative, and the High Commissioner for National Minorities are vacant. Individuals who are holding those positions now, and the recruitment has started. Ambassador Montella will tell us more later on, so I will not dwell too much upon this. But for us, what is important is that this vacuum of leadership has triggered in the Parliamentary Assembly the desire to help. Of course, we do not have a crisis of leadership in the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly because of COVID, we have frozen the bureau. So we have a bureau and so a political leadership that conducts our affairs. The Secretariat and the Secretary General have a longer mandate. So there was no problem with the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly. But instead of just sitting and looking at the situation in the OSCE in a moment when the OSCE is very much needed, we decided to become active. And in many of the OSCE resolutions, we've always called for a strong OSCE. We've always called for a robust OSCE, an OSCE which is financed, which can be operational. So what we thought would be our mission here was going to try to lend a hand to the executive structures of the OSCE by putting in place an activity. I called it in a probably more vulgar way, Operation Lazarus, with the idea of giving rebirth to the OSCE. Ambassador Lamberto Zanier will give us some details because he has been hired by the Parliamentary Assembly as a high-level expert, being the person who has the biggest experience in the OSCE, being twice the Secretary General, once the Director of the Conflict Prevention Center, and the latest High Commissioner for National Minorities, is helping our leadership in trying to relaunch, let's say, the political importance of this organization. For a person like myself who's worked in the organization for many years, especially at the grassroots level in the field, I've seen the benefits that this organization has on the end users of the OSCE product, the citizens of the OSCE. And I think many ministers, or at the higher level of our countries, there is not much attention to the organization. Ministers are distracted by other priorities and they don't pay much attention to the OSCE. So what we hope to achieve with the operation that Ambassador Zanier is helping us put together is raise up the level of attention of the political leadership in the OSCE countries and strengthen the organization. But I will give briefly the floor to Ambassador Zanier as soon as I'm finished with my report, so that we can highlight us a little bit, Ambassador Zanier, also on the activity that we're conducting in Paris next week. On the two most hot political issues, the President has already dwelled upon Belarus and on the issue of the conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh, so I don't want to dwell too much in that. We have very much appreciated Andrei Savitnik's engagement with Svetlana Tikhanovskaya in a bureau meeting that we had on the 23rd of September. That was the first time that the Belarus opposition could directly engage with the authorities, and it was very much appreciated. Ms. Tikhanovskaya came to visit me here in Copenhagen and is visiting other capitals in Europe with the idea of trying to find a direct channel of communication with the authorities in Minsk, and I really hope that the channel of communication will be open soon. On Nagorno-Karabakh, I will not get into this discussion. I'm sure there is, from the list of participants and list of speakers, a desire to discuss on this, but of course the President, you've seen, has made lots of statements, has been very active, has been engaged with the speakers of both countries, with the head of delegations of both countries. Our President has really been putting his own political weight behind a diplomatic solution to this, because the OSCE has had a tool to deal with this conflict, which is the Minsk group, which unfortunately has not delivered the results that we were hoping, because the solution to this conflict was going to be a diplomatic solution. We've said in many of our resolutions that there is no military solution to this conflict. Well, the reality tells us a different story. But again, I will not get into the details of this. This is to say that this is the activities we've had so far. Upcoming activities, we have next week a seminar in Paris on the 20th of November. Ambassador Zanier will tell you more about that. We have a bureau meeting on the 2nd of December, and this will be online. Of course, there is no ministerial meeting happening this year in person, so the Tirana ministerial meeting will be all online. So the bureau meeting will be online on the 2nd of December, and our President will address the ministers online on the 3rd of December. And hopefully our first in-person statutory meeting will be the winter meeting on the 24th and 25th of February in Vienna. But before that, we will be busy in working on the organization of election observation missions in Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan on the 10th of January. A very important issue that we need to discuss, but this will be the next agenda item, will be the reform rules of procedures. Lord Bonas is full speed with Ambassador Montella on this. By the way, I thank Ambassador Montella for the work that he has done so far, but more details will be given during Lord Bonas's presentation.